Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of my Divine Journey 2 Let's Play. This episode is going to be a bit different because I'm going to give you all a tour of my world and give a bit of a recap of what I've done so far and end it with some ideas of where we're going. I think that this will be a really good entry for the series for people who don't want to watch 14 other episodes where I was still learning how to make YouTube videos. I still am learning how to make YouTube videos. And for people who just want to see where you can get with the Divine Journey 2 world, what kind of not halfway even, because if we take a look at the quests, I'm only in chapter 12, so not even halfway, but where you can get after a good many hours playing the game. We're going to be going through the world, probably building by building, and I will be showing off, most likely in the order I built them, what I've done and how I've done it, really. I want to show off a lot of the different machines that I've made and kind of the techniques that I use for creating systems that are able to input into my ME system. But first, we're going to be starting off with just some really basic survival stuff. I think it's also going to hopefully give you all a much better sense of the world, of what's around, of what I can do, the space that I have, and hopefully give you all some ideas that you can share with me, because I would really love any ideas you all have. Oh, and it's raining now. I would really love any ideas you all have to things that we could do here. Some of the buildings, as we'll see, are now completely empty. I've upgraded the production that was originally in there to other places, leaving just kind of the shell of the building, and I can either tear it down and use the space for something else, or use the building that's already built for something else. And I really encourage all of you guys, if you have any ideas, to drop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to hear, and I will definitely reply to all of them with my thoughts. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Looking at this map, you can get a good sense of the scale of what I'm building and where we've been. So this island, you can see that there is a river kind of going around the outside of it. And I have been building on this entire island so far, starting out from where we are right here in the west and going eastward. This building that we're currently in is the very first thing I built. It's really basic. I didn't really have a style down. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just had to get something up because I couldn't just live out in the middle of the forest, which this was before. It's where I've been throwing down all of my trophies from completing different mods. Most of them. Some of them are over there, some of them are over there. But I also had my original storage system here, which was just a collection of chests on this wall. You can see it in some of the early episodes. It's now empty. I've upgraded to an ME system, and I took all the chests down. But what I haven't taken down is this, the Tinker's Construct Smeltery. I haven't used it in a while. I haven't found much use for it now that I'm in the later stages of the mod pack, using the alloy smelter instead. But like, this is just filled with a bunch of different types of ores that I created. I don't know if there's really anything in here, just some iron and some blood, you know, the usual things you keep in your smeltery. Whoops. And over here is just a little area with the different pattern chests, part chests, and whatnot. I'm thinking about converting this building into a sort of hall of achievements for all the different trophies I got. If you like that idea, let me know. This was the first bed I ever placed here. This was my original sleeping spot. Going out the side here, further west, I have a little spruce tree farm because, you know, you need spruce. And I have an enchanting table set up here. I was messing around with the magical wood, seeing how well that worked. I don't really understand how it works, but this is where I enchanted all my original gear. I used to have a cactus farm here, you could see from the setup of sand. And here I have my first crop area. I used this for potatoes until very recently. Too recently. And then also some wheat, some cotton and stuff. Over here I've set up some fishing nets that just dump their outputs into these double chests. I periodically come over and empty them. They sometimes drop books. What I really use them for are fish to make my fish and chips, which I've found to be a pretty good and easy food source to get. But I would love any suggestions on food sources that you guys use. Over here, all of my cows have died. I had a cow pen here that was full of cows, and then black dogs came and killed them all. This is the first mod we dove into. Roots. Wait, Totemic. Roots is right there. Roots is the second mod we dove into. You can hear the bald eagles over here, and these were all involved in the Totemic mod. Similarly, here are some buffalo. They were also involved in the Totemic mod, and this chest used to house all the Totemic items I was using. This just kind of sits. I do like how it looks, though. I think it's cute. I think it's a nice reminder of the past. And as I previously said, over here is the roots area. I actually still use this fairly often. These aqueous soils drop sugarcane, pumpkin spider, bonk. 3 shots, okay. There. Ah! The aqueous soil is now where my potatoes are actually being harvested, as well as stuff that I use for all my spells, like Stalacrate. The spells are in this staff. With the Sky Soarer spell, I'm able to fly. And it's an eclipse. Infernal bulbs, moon glow, whatnot. And then in some of these chests, I just have some basic roots supplies. A mortar here, a little lake, the pyre, the grovestone, the imbuer, the imposer, and the fake crafter, all set up just for me to use as needed. I don't have any really more detailed plans for roots currently. I think some of the stuff can be automated. However, I have not automated it yet. Maybe in the future I will. Probably in the future I will have to. But continuing over, there's another portal. And this building right here is really the first big building that I built in this series. It was the first one that I used Lightmatica for, which I now use for most of the buildings that I build. Sometimes I build freehand like over there. But this was to house our first power system, and it's been a pretty good production line. In here we have basic drawers combined with a timer giving half-a-second pulses, because every time you provide a redstone pulse to the aqueous soil, which is under here, it gives a chance for the crop above it to grow. And this is really useful because it shoves all the barley into this drawer and all the barley seeds into this drawer using controller slaves and item conduits, and then they get piped up with item ducts. Heading up, we have right above it a squeezer, a refinery, and an industrial fermenter creating biodiesel, connecting to 2 biodiesel generators, which go up and spread out the power to the rest of our base. This is useful. However, I don't like how big it is. I wish that it was more compact, and I wish that it was easier to smelt. I also discovered that I did not align this with chunk borders, and if you know anything about immersive engineering, you need to be aligned with chunk borders. So this building is the first one that I realize I need to be looking at the chunk borders before I build. And that's something that I kept in mind on the rest of the buildings that I built. Let's jump down now to my Atom area. This is where I started Atom 2. This is a portal to Atom 2. This is a kiln. I don't even remember what half this stuff does. I remember that this you have to like manually click, and this you have to manually click. And I didn't really enjoy in Atom 2, if I'm giving my honest feedback. It felt kind of just like a chore to run through and then just complete. The next mod that I played through was Aether, which I did enjoy more than Atom 2, but I think it was solely because nostalgia. It felt, again, like something you just had to run through and complete. And Icica also felt like something you had to run and complete. But as I was completing those, I constructed my next building. And this is where I dove into applied energistics 2 and mechanism even more, starting with an extensive drawer network, which I still use to this point. We set up a terminal housing all my materials and set up a drawer system so that I wouldn't have to use disks as much. Drives, I guess. The drives were somewhat expensive for me to make. They're not as expensive anymore. I'm planning on probably removing all the stuff from the drawers, maybe keeping some stuff in compacting drawers like this, like cobblestone is good to have there, but starting to move things to the drives. How this is hooked up, we can hop down here and look, is just through a, where is it? A storage bus. And the storage bus has a higher priority, so everything looks for an area in the drawer system to put the item before it puts it in the drive system, which has a lower priority. I think I don't even need to destroy this. Oh, blocked by the bush. Yeah, this has a lower priority. This -1 first has a 0. The -1 is what I'm setting my base priority to, so that anything that's not going somewhere else just gets put here. But anyways, we continued on and dug a tunnel. And the tunnel led to where we put our controller. Now this is messy. I was not very smart with how I set up my controller system. This is very messy. We'll get into what some of these mean, but what you should know for now is that these two dense cables go upwards using this elevator into the first industrial building we made for mechanism. I put an M on it for my name, Muon, and for mechanism. And in here, I really dove in and started getting things like compressing factories, infusing factories, crushing, smelting, and whatnot. Let's take some more in-depth looks at what all these do. Over here, we have a setup to automate steel production. If we look at this, there is a level emitter. And level emitters are really central to my entire design process. The way they work is you set it so that it's equal, it emits a redstone signal when above or equal to limit. And you set the limit and it detects in your ME system. This is set so that when it receives a redstone signal, it stops. The machine stops functioning. And this is set to emit a redstone signal when we have more than 1,000 steel ingots in our system. If we look, we have 1,114. So none of this is producing while that redstone signal is on, meaning this is stopped. But it also means that once we run below 1,000, let's for example take 2 stacks out, these kick on and start producing steel, which allow me to just have steel automated and always have 1,000 steel whenever I need it. The way this works is through using just the item output config and just sending it down into a storage crate, and below there's an ME import bus, which just takes it right out and sends it into the ME system. Over here, this was a very basic smelting system just for doubling ores, throwing any ore into an enriching factory and then smelting. We've since upgraded our ore production heavily. We did that in the last episode, so this has become obsolete. I'll most likely tear it out at some point, especially because I could use it somewhere else most likely. Each floor of this is dedicated to a different type of automatic production using the level emitters. Heading up using the elevator, this area right here is 5 different ores. We have not nickel, where is it? Constantine, bronze, invar, electrum, and conductive iron. They all import into here whatever they need to smelt and get put out into this chest where there's an import bus waiting to pull it out. The level emitters, similarly as to the steel, sit down at the bottom and wait for the levels. In this case, and in most cases going forward, it'll be below limit. It'll look for me having less than 256 bronze in the system, and it'll emit when it's lower. Somebody in the comments told me that this is a better, more lag-friendly way to set it up. Over here, I went and worked more on the left side. We have a little bit of a chicken farm over there. That's not really producing much at this stage, but feathers. This creates from cobblestone obsidian, and this creates pulverized obsidian, puts it in here. There's supposed to be diamonds going into here, compressed diamonds, to create enriched obsidian ingots to automatically craft anything that you need. Refined obsidian ingots. But I don't really know how to fully automate the diamonds that need to go in here. Maybe I could slide in another pool or something. If you have any ideas, let me know. And then finally, we have glowstone being compressed into refined glowstone. This side is dedicated to all the different dusts that are created using things like cryotheum and blazing and things like that. This one takes water, turns it into snowballs. Snowballs get combined with liquid XP and gets turned into this blizz dust, I think. Similarly, pulverized obsidian gets combined and turned into that dust. I'm forgetting names. Sulfur, liquid XP. Blaze powder. I know that one. Heading up here, we finally have niter getting turned into this one. Blitz, maybe? And gunpowder, when you crush gunpowder, it gets turned into niter. And then we have our chickens over here, like I said. That's the mechanism building, and all of these things are still producing for me. They're very useful. What's not so useful, walking like a college tour campus guide, is this building. This was originally planning to be my Applied Energistics 2 building. I did have an Applied Energistics 2 set up here, and I had a cobblestone generator here for a while. Everything's gone. This is the first completely empty building we're seeing. If you have any suggestions for what I could put in here, I could also just tear it out and put maybe like a little pond or something feature next to the mechanism building. But please let me know in the comments down below. Let's move on to the next area where I got into extra utilities. Before I got into extra utilities, I set up a little bit of a mob farm. Turning the lights on so we can see. This is some curse earth with mob fans and a mob masher. Gets all smushed up into there, thrown into the absorption hopper that's here. If we show the area it's collecting. And gets imported in, and anything that's like tools or armor that the mobs are wearing gets trashed. This has been constantly running and is a really nice source of things like mob heads. Our extra utilities 2 building is over here. This is a building that I did freehand. I did not use Lightmatica for. And we have some solar panels and a bunch of fire mills just generating grid power, and some really basic setups down here for resonators, just an input and an output. An auto anvil, an energy cube to power our enchanter, which I think I used once, an XP bottler that I don't use too much anymore because I have other ways of doing that, and a crafting terminal. This, for reference, is just north of the Mechanism and Applied Energistics 2 building. You can see them from down here. It's on the other side of the hill. That's the Applied Energistics 2 building. Over here, we continued our quest into thermal expansion and set up some really nice thermal expansion areas. An induction smelter, just 2 inputs, output. Fluid transposer, I think I was using this for moss stone, but I don't entirely remember. This has really been an area where if I need something and I don't need it for long, I just throw it down and set up a few things. For example, this is turning coal into coal coke for HOP graphite ingots. I'm going to set this up to have an auto HOP graphite ingot producer, but for now, it's just sitting here. An arcane ensorcelator, just to get some specific enchanted books, but I don't use it much, so it doesn't need to be automated. Here we have a rosin producer to make some resonant cathrate clathrate into, what is it called? Coated clathrate. We don't need a ton of that right now. So I just had a little setup here. This is probably the most permanent setup I have. It turns ingots into plates, ingots into gears, and saws things. It's a replacement of the immersive engineering ones that are not very efficient. And this is just a pulverizer. This is another pulverizer. I don't remember what these were doing. This is a ton of oil sand, which is now kind of pointless for what I'm going to show next. Well, part of what I'm not going to show next. This is a little cotton farm and cotton seed farm to just get cotton, which is used for string. A building I forgot to show a minute ago is this one, where I started setting up some of the arc furnaces. What am I saying? I have another refinery here making biodiesel. Looks like I might need more biodiesel. Crusher and some coke ovens up there. Now, this is the biggest thing I've built. This is the thing I'm most proud of that I've built, and it does not have a name. This building is where I took things to the next level. I really started to diving into automating things with EnderIO and whatnot. Get inside, shall we? In here, we have many different setups. Firstly, down here, I'm going to throw my helmet on to give myself night vision. We have another mob farm producing pink slime that I haven't used a ton, but I'm sure it'll be coming in handy at some point. This is an RF and GP powder automation system. If you'd like to learn about that, please watch my previous video, episode 14. This is a remote storage module, which is used over there. But this is a bunch of different setups for automating more of the complex materials. First, we have pulsating iron, and this uses the same system as... Oh. Yep. Oh, I never set this to be redstone high, to require high redstone, to require a redstone signal in order to produce. So we have 1,383 pulsating iron ingots, which is okay. We use those a lot. But, so we have an export bus here with a capacity card, just throwing in iron ingots and ender pearls. These get thrown into the alloy smelter with a level emitter sitting here. It's basically the same setup that we saw in the Mekanism Building, just using alloy smelters instead. This creates vibrant alloy, this creates Osc glass, and this creates energetic alloy. Enough said. This is a fluid transposer. It combines biodiesel with osmium to create enriched osmium. Ooh. This doesn't get turned on much. We don't need much enriched osmium. I just was tired of having to craft it. This is an alloy smelter creating dark steel ingots. This is a setup to get, I believe, Demon Lord ingots. Let's see if I can... Whoop. Demon Lord ingots, yeah. So you combine Oscoglass with lapis and get Oscoglass lapis. Oscoglass gets thrown in the resonator and creates lunar reactive dust, which gets combined with demon ingots and creates the Demon Lord ingots. You know, basic stuff. I say that jokingly because Demon Lord ingots don't exist in the real world. Over here, this is really new. The mechanical squeezer. You throw mineral blocks into here and it gets dried. We have more complex production over here. So this is taking coal ore and turning it into refined fuel. Refined fuel is used for a lot of things, mainly energized dark steel ingots. Coal ore, pulverizer, pulverizes into coal. Coal, pulverized into pulverized coal. Pulverized coal gets turned into liquefied coal. Liquefied coal gets fractionally stilled into naphtha. Naphtha gets fractionally stilled into refined fuel. All of them have byproducts, so all of them have outputs to the bottom going into here. And eventually we just have a fluid storage bus looking at this portable tank. This is a sawmill. creating steel rods. This is a compactor, creating steel plates. This is a formulaic assemblator, creating steel casing for machine frames. This is an induction smelter, creating, I believe, dark ingots. Let's see. Dark ingots. This is taking dark ingots and combining them with the refined fuel to create energized dark ingots. This is a fluid transposer, combining XP bottles, or regular bottles, with liquid XP to create bottles of enchanting, not bottoms. This is the final floor I've made so far, and this has pretty extensive production lines. Let's start over here. This turns oak saplings into, I believe, wood ash. Is that correct? Into dead bushes. Then the dead bushes get cut up, and the dead bushes get cut up into twigs and prunings. And we have cactus over here, also getting cut up into something else to create organic dyes, which are used for something else. If you play Divine Journey 2, you'll know what organic dyes are used for, and you may know what they're used for off the top of your head, unlike me. Now, EnderIO just has some basic different machines that I've thrown here, Slice and Splice and Soulbinder, and these just put their outputs into a storage crate that gets connected to an import bus. This is a sag mill, this is an alloy smelter, this is a storage crate that gets pulled into the alloy smelter. Enough said. This is the vat. The vat outputs nutrient distillation, and all of this is used to create plastic. We start with rotten flesh getting turned into biofuel, and the biofuel combines with hydrogen and water to get turned into substrate. To get hydrogen, we use an electrolytic separator, which produces hydrogen and oxygen, both of which we need. These are both sent to dumping at excess so that if any of them fill up, neither of them can fill up and they'll always produce. When you turn biofuel into substrate, you get a byproduct of ethylene. And ethylene, you need liquid ethylene in order to take the substrate and turn it into HDPE pellets. So, substrate comes out, goes into this output, and sends into there. It's connected to here. I could technically remove that. This isn't doing anything. What this is doing is the rotary condensator is turning the ethylene into liquid ethylene, converting it from gas to a liquid, and sending it up into the pressurized reaction chamber, combining it with the oxygen, which we have from the electrolytic separator, and turning this into the HDPE pellets. This is currently off because we're currently full on oxygen, and I do not know what to do about the fact that we are full on oxygen. I'll probably throw a trash can in there. We don't need oxygen for anything else at this point in time, but it's good to know. I wish you could just click a recycle button and it could just get thrown into there, and then this could just dump, but we can't recycle. We're horrible people. HDPE pellets 3 get enriched into a sheet. The sheet gets thrown into here, gets transposed with the nutrient distillation, and we got plastic. Plastic is used as a advanced resource in, I believe, RF tools is where it starts getting used. Another advanced resource comes from our cow friend. He needs a name still. Please drop a name. He poops. He poops a lot. And the poop gets collected, and we take the poop, and we use the poop to create some slime ingots. Let's throw his poop away, shall we? And now, obviously, we're not throwing it away. We are recycling his poop. We can't recycle oxygen, but we can recycle poop. This is an inscriber from Applied Energistics 2. This is a really basic setup. I used a wrench to rotate it so that all 3 sides could be an input and then an output too, because I forget. Oh, because you want to use hoppers. Hoppers are really cheap, and you can't turn a hopper upside down in this mod pack. So I turned the inscriber on its side so I could use all 3 hoppers. And this just produces things like silicon and logic circuits. I'm preparing to create a lot more drives to host all my items. Here we have a digger's trophy and a drying basin. Out on the roof here, we have a solar panel system connected to a power cell, and that power cell gets sent to a different dimension. We don't care about that power cell. That's not true. We cared very deeply about the power cell. But out to the eastern shore here, we have just another 2 diesel generators, which have run out of biodiesel. That is a problem. That means, well, they're still full. Maybe it's just running at like perfect efficiency. Yeah, let's say they're running at perfect efficiency. Who needs a reserve? Ah, it turned around. And that leads us to probably the final stop for now. Our smeltery setup. This is a design from Knoll 357, or suggested by Knoll 357, with modular storage connecting sag mills, smelting factories, pulverizers, and enriching factories to the deep dark. In the deep dark, we have a silk touch quarry, and this is just mining. Well, it's off right now, but it does mine, and it throws all the resources into that smelting system. Pretty great. Something I forgot to mention is that we have a little setup over here to summon witches. Using these catalyst plates and a pyre, you can summon witches, and the witches are needed for the soul vial, which uses the soul splicer over in the EnderIO stuff and is used for some important machine bit. But witches are kind of hard to find, so I've just been using the catalyst plates and the summon creatures ritual from Roots. Finally, we have our house, our home, our lovely little abode with our chicken coop next to it. I needed eggs for organic dye, and I still use the eggs. So we have a little chicken coop with plenty of chickens hanging out, plenty of friends. They drop eggs and it gets collected. And we have our house. I quite like this house. It's cozy, sitting by the fire. It's a little entryway, and then it leads down and into a kitchen. One of the viewers suggested DecoCraft, and I really love how it looks in this place, the atmosphere it provides for everything. Upstairs, we have a little, I don't even know what you would call this, hallway, I guess. Little bathroom where you can take a poop. Take a poop. Try not to get hot wax dripped on your legs, because I only realized that the candle is kind of way too close. And we have a little bedroom with some posters for movies I like, a guitar, because I play guitar. I know, I'm so creative, guys, for putting a guitar in my bedroom when I play guitar. Vanity, drawer, closet, which serves as a light switch, but only for off. It doesn't turn it back on. Some plants, moon decoration. And upstairs, where our tour began and where our tour will end, a little laboratory for me to use. I wish that you could write on this chalkboard. I would write messages and leave them in the background of the videos. A safe, some nice paintings, a cozy chair where I can look out on our other buildings, and bid you all farewell. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it's a bit different. I think every 15 episodes from now on, I'm going to be doing a world tour like this to allow newcomers a nice entry into the series, and also to try to give you guys a bit retrospective, as well as what we are doing, and give you guys a better idea of the area we're working with. People in the comments have said that it's kind of hard to tell the area we're in, the layout of things, and this is an effort to combat that. Where we're going in the future is a question that I want to work on with all of you. I really like a lot of the builds around here, and I'm excited to keep developing. Let's switch it to day so I can get a good view. We do have this entire other half of this island that is completely untouched. The most I've done is tear down trees when I've needed wood, but I haven't really done anything too much. However, a lot of what I've done, I've been doing as I've been learning as I'm doing. For example, where the controllers are set up is in a really inconvenient spot. I really don't like where it is. I wish I had thought about it more and put it in a much more central place that is easier to access than deep underground. And going this way, it'll be incredibly difficult to connect things to the controllers. I would like all of your opinions about what you think of me making a sort of new mega base. Using this as a starter base, because that's what it really was, to get set up, which we now are set up. We have so many more resources than I've ever had before. We also have access to different building gadgets, which will allow me to build much more efficiently and quickly. And I'm thinking maybe trying to do something larger scale and much more organized, much more controllers in the center of it all, and things branching out from there and knowing what's going on. But I also know that I don't want to abandon this area. It would be hard for me to do. So I'd love all of your opinions about it. Another option is going into a different dimension, like the void, and building a sort of, I've entertained the idea of building almost a space station in the void that like expands massively, akin to, if you are familiar, the ISS in real life, building off as they needed more and more modules, and building something that almost looks like a space station. I think could be really cool. What other ideas have I entertained? Those are really the two big ones. Building something else large around here, maybe something in the plains, or maybe something over the ocean, or just continuing here. Just continuing what I've been doing and sticking with my guns. In the comments, please let me know. Please let me know. I really appreciate all the feedback you guys give, and it's really great, and I want you to be a part of this world and choose what we do. For now, though, I'm going to bid you all farewell, and I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was pretty quick from the last episode, I know, but because it's just a tour, I didn't really have to spend too much time preparing things and showing progress. I just wanted to show you what I've done, and I'm really excited to hear the feedback you guys have. I hope you have all enjoyed. Have a good one.